Hi everyone, and welcome to Coffee with Eddie. Today we're speaking with Tom Freidel with Padgett Business Services, and in episode 94 we're talking about a new bill that was signed into law called the Secure Act, and we're going to find out how that's going to impact your retirement. So I understand that there's a new bill that was signed into law in 2020 called the Secure Act.
Yep.
It sounds like it's going to affect our retirement. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So what can you tell me about it?
It's quite a few changes are taking place in retirement money with the Secure Act. Some are really, really great, like in companies who want to have a 401k plan. Now they've enhanced the tax credits for those companies to be able to offset some of the cost of having a 401k plan. So that's great. They've also pushed the required minimum distribution date from 70 and a half out to 72. Also kind of a good thing. So if you're nearing 70 and a half, you are going to have to start absolutely being required to take money out of your retirement account. Well, now that gets pushed back to 72 years. So you can defer taking that money out, which is great. One of the biggest changes that's coming from the Secure Act that I don't want to say was hidden in the act, but it definitely didn't get a lot of publicity, and that is the change to those who inherit these retirement accounts. So there used to be this thing called a stretch IRA. So if somebody passed away and I inherited, and it wasn't my spouse, it had to be a non-spouse account, and I inherited an IRA, I could stretch the distributions of that inherited IRA over my lifetime. Now the new law says I must liquidate that account in the next 10 years.
Really?
Yes, drastic change. So as all of us are out there building retirement accounts with the idea of we're going to have something that we can pass on to our heirs and that they can then take out over the next 20 or 30 or 40 years of their life, that's changed, and that's a drastic change.
So what are they anticipating people will do then after they've liquidated it over the 10 years? So are they going to transfer it into other accounts, or?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the IRS's position or Congress's position, since they're the ones who wrote the bill, their position is these accounts were never intended by Congress when they were designed to be a lifetime income stream for anybody, right? And if you think about it, there's no taxes paid on the monies in these accounts until it's distributed. So as somebody who was maybe 70 years old that never took a required distribution, the IRS never got any money from that individual on those funds, and then you stretch it now over the inherited individuals by 40 years, they're really not getting their money on that either. So now with this requirement, it's going to force the taxation of all of this money and then over the next 10 years from the account holder's death.
So some people may think that this is a revenue stream for the government.
It could be.
Could be interpreted that way.
There's certainly. So,
but it's a good thing to be able to speak to someone like yourself, because all of these changes impact people. It's impossible for me or the average person to be able to understand and know, A, what the existing laws and requirements are, and what these changes are that happen on a yearly basis to be able to properly take care of yourself.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And tax planning just kind of turned up on its head, and estate planning. You know, a lot of people used to talk about estate planning from in terms of avoiding the estate tax, right? Well, with the 11.5 million cap on income or assets today, there's not a lot of people who are paying estate tax. So there hasn't been a ton of focus on estate tax planning from that perspective. But absolutely now we need to be speaking about how do we plan for our heirs to be able to receive income. Do we invest differently? You know, because this law is going to affect money that sits in 401ks, traditional IRAs, SEP IRAs, but it might not affect annuities, or it might not affect other accounts, right? Life insurance plans, things like that. So I think working with your financial advisor is also going to be a big part of this, as to how do we structure our assets for retirement in light of the Secure Act. And this is all brand new stuff, so I think there's going to be a lot of questions that are out there right now. A lot of people are going to need to understand that if somebody passed away in 2019 and they inherited an account, they're not affected. But if they pass away in 2020 and they inherit that same account, now they're impacted.
So you and I have had this conversation before. In my career and in your career, it sounds like to have a firm grasp over what the rules and regulations are could change the direction at any turn. So in my world, when I speak to buyers and sellers and they ask me a question such as, well, if we ask for, the roof to be replaced on a home during the home inspection, what's the seller going to do? And my answer is always, well, it depends.
Right.
So it sounds like that's an answer that you would probably give a lot as well.
It is. And it's frustrating, I think, for clients to hear the answer,
sure.
it depends, because it really does take thought. And while we do know a lot about the tax law in our head, every client's situation is completely different, just
Right.
like every home buyer's situation is completely different, right? And we have to understand all of the nuances and what the future income streams are going to be able to answer a lot of questions for people.
So, and this isn't meant to be a type of negative or derogatory statement, but it's important to have somebody that's going to be able to handhold you through this process.
Right, for sure. And I think that's in anything we do. I mean, I wouldn't think about selling a home on my own, right? And while people do, right, people also prepare taxes on their own, and that's fine, right? It's just that I think as tax law continues to evolve, it's not getting easier, even though they're trying to communicate that it is, right? It's just not. Every year is getting more and more complicated. There's more and more things to know because they're trying to raise revenue.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for tuning in to Coffee with Eddie this month. It's been a pleasure having you join us. If you would like to learn more about Padgett Business Services or about real estate, please give me a call, or you can contact me at my email address or on social media. You'll see that information on the screen below.